developers and trying to make sure that they're making sure the minority developers are hired, as well as making sure that it's going to impact the community in a great way. What role does the county commissioner play with that?
Well, we play a large role as far as economic development. We county government is an extension of state government. So there are certain rules that are placed on us that we can't do anything about. So as far as incentives and as far as looking to see is it a fit for our community, and if it's a fit for our community, what is the company offering for our community as far as the community people being hired, community involvement, all of those things we're looking and asking those kinds of questions. And it's okay to do that, but there are some legalities that we can't do anything about. We've got some rules that have been placed on us that we just have to let it go.
Right. There's certain things that you can't do because of what the state has put on you in terms of their rules and regulations.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
We have an attorney, our county attorney, that advises us that, this is okay, we can push it here, push it there, but certain areas we can't push.
Good. And you recently got elected to a statewide office as well. Could you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about what that office is and how this will play into what you can do on maybe even a state level? Because I know that you were recently sworn in as president of the North Carolina Association of Counties, which I'm assuming this is all the people involved around the area?
Mark, thank you. That was such an honor to be sworn in by 100 counties across the state to be chosen as their president of the state association. And for Durham, that had never happened before. It was the first time anyone had that honor. And I've learned what it means to go from Murphy to Matteo. There are some, and we have some really, really rural counties in this state that need all the help that they can get.
I actually grew up in Warren County.
Yeah, I grew up in Caswell County, so I know rural. I know, and visiting those areas, we can't do enough in educating our children, educating our young people so that they have a chance in life. The great equalizer is education. And if we have to continue to improve so that from universal pre-K to college, that our young people have an opportunity to have a life.
Yes. And how do you think we're doing in terms of educating people just about the duty of civics? Because, I know that we're in a very tumultuous time in terms of our national politics and things of that nature, but it seems to me that I'm just amazed the amount of times that you talk to people that will tell you they haven't voted or that they have no interest in voting or that the candidates won't make any difference to them. Even sometimes the local candidates, which we often know that it's actually at the local level, is the ones that oftentimes impact us even more than the national level. But I'm just amazed sometimes at the lack of interest by some of our youngsters and even some of our folks in the middle age and the elders that are not interested in the political spectrum. So I was wondering, have you had that experience, and what has been your reaction, and how have you coped with that?
Well, I do my best to educate individuals when they don't seem to have an interest in voting, and I talk about voting for people that have their interests and their values at heart. Their vote counts when it comes to education. Their vote counts as far as job development in this community. Their vote counts when it comes to their taxes. Those are things that they can relate to. Their vote counts when it comes to whether seniors have food to eat or not. and those are things that they can relate to. There's a lot of other things, but those things they can get on board with that.
Yeah. What is one of the most amazing things? Like I said, like you mentioned before, it was a tragedy that brought you into the political spectrum. You've been in the political spectrum now for a number of years. But what, other than what I just mentioned about some people that may not understand the importance of politics, what have been some of the other things that have shocked you or that surprised you about being involved as a civic leader and a political leader?
I guess today I think the thing that's shocking me right now is the divisiveness. Wow. We need leaders. Our children need to see leaders that are working together for their good, not being divisive. How do we teach our young people that they are supposed to work together, they are supposed to respect one another, irregardless of what they look like or how much money they have? How do we teach our children that if we are not representing that? Because our kids will model us. And if we're not giving them what they need to model, then shame on us.
Yeah, because I know in this show, we've had a conversation with some of the young leaders, both in Raleigh as well as Durham and even around the nation. And part of the conversation has been that sometimes they feel that, and it's all a two-way street, and they even acknowledge that it's a two-way street, that sometimes the younger leaders feel that they're not getting enough respect from the old guard, as they might consider it. But then the old guard probably feels that the young folks are being a little bit too much, making too many gains and aren't listening to their voice as well. And I've had some of the young leaders acknowledge that they have to listen to the voice of the wisdom of their elders, but they also would like to have their voice heard as well. And I know a good friend of mine that actually lives out of state in the West Coast. They sometimes talk about AOC over there representing New York, and they feel that sometimes that she hasn't done enough in terms of had that track record yet. That she came out kind of on fire and making changes and making proposals, but that she hadn't had a chance to really build her own track record yet. So I do see that conversation going on a regular basis, even sometimes within our PACs and things of that nature. So I was wondering how you've dealt with that, trying to build the bridges, because you are one of the people that I have seen do a great job of building bridges in the community, because I've seen you talk to everybody from Democrats and Republicans, gay and straight, white and black, Latin and Asian, just across the board, Christian and Muslim.
I love hearing different perspectives. It helps me to grow. None of us know everything. Nobody knows everything. I don't care who you are. PhD, whatever PhD you have. Nobody knows everything. I learn from young people. I love hanging out with them. I love their energy. So there's a wisdom that comes with people that are older, but there's creativity that comes with young people. And just being able to respect each is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. If you would tell our listeners, and I'm going to bring in a couple of our other callers, and I do want you to stay on if you can, but tell folks that are listening what Howerton Consulting is, because I do know you have Howerton Consulting, but I don't even know exactly what y'all do, but what that is, and also if people are interested, how they can reach you. So definitely let folks know what Howerton Consulting does, and if folks are interested, how they can reach you. And then the other question I have to ask you is, are we going to be just satisfied with the county commissioner and his state job, or do we have ambitions to make it a little bit bigger, maybe on the state or the federal level?
So, Howerton Consulting is an executive coaching firm. I am an executive coach. You know, as an elected official, you still have to work. I still have to pay my mortgage. So I'm an executive coach that I work with people to move to another level of expertise. If they are at one level, they may have plateaued and want to move to another level. So I work with individuals that want to improve where they are to move, or they may even want to move to another job. But it's all about creating a strategy that have them move to another level. I've been doing that since the early 90s. And also a part of that is leadership development, is working with companies, mid-level managers around leadership development. And what was that other question?
I was asking whether you were just going to be, you've done so much here in this Durham area, I didn't know if you had any ambitions to do anything on the state or the federal level, because I could definitely see you running some office on a state or a federal level.
Well, thank you. That's an honor to hear. I loved being the president of the association and being able to connect with so many different commissioners and folks from around the state, and being involved in my local home issues, but also being issues that were in other counties, and seeing that when you build those relationships, you can push for issues together. So I've built those relationships over the years, and a lot of those relationships in Raleigh right now. So whether I move on to anything else or stay here, wherever I am, I'll just do the best job I can for the people, no matter where it is.
And you've always done an amazing job for the people and things of that nature. If you could definitely stay on the line, I would definitely appreciate that. But I think I had one or two more callers. Dean, does I still have Hope on?
Yep, she's still standing by, and she will be in one quick second.
Thank you.
The old Renaissance is the new Renaissance, standing on tradition while embracing the spirit of distinction. This is the Harlem Brewing Company. Uniquely crafted beer brewed to deliver a taste, a sound, and a feeling that can only be described in one way, Harlem style. So come and take a trip on the A train with our Harlem Sugar Hill Golden Ale and our Harlem Renaissance Wit Beer, the neighborhood original.
Okay, well, we talk with Dean and Mark. Hope Love, you are on the line. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Hope, how are you doing?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing good. We have Brenda on the line as well. You know, Brenda's definitely been involved on the political circuit, but you've been involved on an issue that is very important to her as well, and that is the whole issue of education. Because when I think of theater educators here in this area, of course, there is the legendary Wendell Tabb, who I'm hoping to have on the show in the future.
Oh, my God,
but but we've also got Hope Love that's been doing it not quite as long, but almost as long as Mr. Tabb has.
When we used to work in Durham at our meetings, Wendell used to be the only person who would lean in. Everybody else would lean back. I would say something in the meeting. Wendell and I go way back. And he and I were simpatico when everybody else was like, whoa, you need to lean out of this conversation. So I defer to being a mentee of his, but only by a year or two. He just looks better than me. That's why you think he's older.
You still look amazing yourself as well, so don't even go there. But what drives you into education in terms of theater education? And as I mentioned earlier, I was talking about my dad's art bombs earlier that he dropped around different art galleries. I've always been one to believe that the arts can definitely be something that we use in terms of change and in terms of making change. I've even seen artists, including some very radical artists, that have even done theater pieces at like city council and commissioner meetings. So how important has art been to you, and